Peace, everybody was good.
We'll talk about part two. This is what you wanted to talk about, Queen. So I said we'll talk about it on the
All
live.
right, y'all. Vocal Dialect, Season 1, Episode 4. Unlearning Trauma, Part 2. Queen Goddess Hope, the lovely Queen Goddess Hope. She is the female MC of us. Kinwodo Akil, Obasi Kente, I am Knowledge Born 7. Let's get it. Unlearning Trauma, Part 2.
All right, so I see you did the first you did part 1. So we're gonna let you break it down, start the show off, brother man. Shit, we just not recording.
No, you good, sorry. We live on YouTube right now.
All right.
This topic kind of started out as on my personal channel. Unlearning trauma. And I think sometimes I always say we minimize it. And we don't really deal with it. Especially in the so-called conscious community. I think we put blankets over things and we have substituted the knowledge for like real therapy and dealing with things. But the unlearning it, because I'm gonna say it like this. I'm 42, so it took all a bit of those years to induce this trauma, induce anxiety, induce all of these things into an individual. So it takes almost that amount of time to deal with it. But what I wanted to do is just tap into it and talk about it. Talk about the different types of trauma. We might say psychological, we might say physical, we might say sexual. We say all those things. But like, let's really peel back the layers on each and every one of those and talk about that. Because and I ain't ashamed to talk about it. I think everybody that know me know I talk about therapy. And I think I was talking to probably the Queen, and I was saying, I still find myself, and I know I was saying this on my live also, I still find myself in therapy talking about things that happened to me maybe in 4th grade, So that tells you how far it goes back. And we got to think about some of the things that like really stuck with us. And one thing right before we came on, I started to think about was like relationship trauma. So we're dealing with a lot of this, what we're seeing with battle of the sexes. Black man is this, black women is this, black man provide, the black woman submit. I'm not really dealing with her and her children. I'm not dealing with him and he's broke. Black men, all of those are like side effects. All of those are side effects of the learned behaviors. Some of the things I want to kind of like ask, like, who really taught us how to love? Like, I'm not talking about like the surface, superficial. Like, where did we really see like healthy love? Like, I think we have to stress that word healthy. Where did we see that word? I mean, who taught us? Did we really see examples of healthy love? Or did we just see kind of like relationships and people dealing with each other, putting up with each other? Surface level love. When I say surface level love, meaning like gifts. Somewhat abuse, whether it's verbal, whether it's physical. But we was always taught to kind of like that's how it is. And I was talking about that in my video, that we make a mantra of saying, well, that's just how it is. That's how it always been. When at some point we have to start changing that. We have to start changing that those narratives of that's how it is. And if we don't fix it, this is my main question before I let it go. If we don't fix it and we really don't deal with it, is this even worth doing. If we're just going to say that's how it is, then what are we in this for? I'm not into nothing that I think I can't win. That's like getting into something and you ain't even trying to do nothing. So I really want to dig in and talk about from my end, like levels of like levels of love. And we can tap into like sexual or whatever anybody else want to tap in. But where I was thinking about like relationship trauma. Like how did we really like do we like a real question of like, do we really know how? And this is just to everybody. Do you really know how to be in a relationship? Like, how were you shown how to? I put a post up the other day and I said, well, how did your fathers and male figures bond with you? And I think everybody that posted had something to say about how their fathers bonded with them. Even Queen commented. And it was me and a friend of mine. We were the only ones who was like, they did it. So we got to understand the void that young black boys and black girls feel of not having parents or not having that male figure. That's an imbalance. That's an imbalanced part of you. So if you like, okay, so if you don't have like your mother around, that's your feminine learning aspect that you don't have. If you don't have your father, that's your male aspect that you don't have. That's kind of a void. So imagine trying to be a father without a real example. So yeah, those are kind of some of the things, and like just unlearning some of the things that we've learned about about relationships. And I always say, because I was watching, and I want to say anybody that's listening to this, check out Nana. And when I say Nana, that means like great teacher or wise teacher. Nana Kuntu, Kuntu, but his name is Dale Jones. And he did Culture Bandits 1 and 2. But he has a great lecture called The American Nigger Factory. And in that, he opens up and he talks about, he said, we have to talk about the state of the people. And I think that's what we forget, like the state of the people. I think we really forget of the conditioning of our people. So we looking at a traumatized people off start because ever since the Europeans encountered us or we encountered them, they ain't bring nothing but destruction, pain, and trauma. So that's kind of like what I want to do in unlearning some of those things. So that's where I'm at with it.
All right, Queen.
Peace to everybody. Peace to the tribe. Thanks for tapping in again with us. I think you said a lot, Obasi, as far as far as the different layers of, I guess, underlying trauma that we face as a community. More importantly, I think it's important to harp on, like you said, the first relationships that we were walking into upon entering this plane called Earth, and what that may have looked like, because some of us have, come from positive homes or two parent homes that, while there were two parents, it may not have always been a peaceful experience. It may have been toxic. It may have been, filled with a lot of anger and arguing and physical altercations and drug addiction and abuse, sexual abuse, as we've mentioned before. So we really have to focus on what our relationships may have looked like in the beginning, because that is where you learn these behaviors. And I often talk about how a lot of our relationships and friendships are the way they are because of those beginning years, which I call the imprinting years. So you have ages, I want to say like from 4 to 10, if you will, specifically 4 to 7, because that's really when your child is kind of becoming a little bit independent. They're realizing that they have feelings, they have a voice, they are learning and absorbing, things from their environment. They're learning behaviors. That's why when we're adults, you know, we call them learned behaviors. So those things that you're learning from that early age, you know, will create who you are in romantic relationships later. I just want to say too that a lot of us don't recognize that we need to be healed. And I want to mention some things that a lot of us may have overlooked and that they should start with. So, some examples may be childhood abandonment issues, divorce, abuse and sexual abuse, homelessness, growing up in poverty, adoption, mental illness within the home, religion, neglect, medical issues, and illnesses. So, just thinking about those several things, you know, childhood abandonment issues can definitely be something for us as a community that we can definitely tap into because many of us did grow up in poverty. I grew up in poverty, and I know for a fact that because I did grow up in poverty, it allowed me to have abandonment issues because my parents were always working. And I am my mom's only child. So when my parents split up, again, divorce, I was 5 years old. My primary caretaker transitioned from cancer at a young age. So now I went from having a full-time babysitter to not having one at all, to now raising myself in the home. And that also goes into women being domesticated at such a young age as well. So now I'm a fully functioning adult by age 8. I knew how to iron, wash clothes, cook full meals for my family, full chicken, rice, beans, fresh meatballs, you know, pasta, you know, like doing that whole domestic thing, cleaning, cooking, all of that by age 8. So now in my mind, I'm an adult, but now I'm getting reprimanded and scolded and disciplined as a child. So that comes with confusion, you know, and a lot of us don't really realize that again those things can alter our relationships too as an adult because a lot of women grow up to be hyper independent because they have been groomed to be a wife at such a young age that now when they're in these romantic relationships later they don't want anyone telling them what to do or it's difficult to submit. You
Mm.
know, a lot of them have that Christian mentality that you should submit to your husbands, wives submit to your husbands, and a lot of people don't like that. You know, they're like, well, what is the true definition of submission? What does that look like if I have been groomed to be hyper independent? You know, so there's so many layers to this, and I think that it also goes down, you know, just to kind of tap into my psychology brain of it all. There's something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is a school of thought in psychology. And with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's shaped like a pyramid, of course. And at the bottom, the thing is as you get to each layer higher and higher, if your basic needs are not met, which is more or less psychological, clothing, food, water, shelter, clothing, sleeping, you know, being able to have food on your table, warmth, AC if necessary, so on and so forth. If your basic needs are not met, then you're probably not going to feel comfortable or feel that you're vibrating at a high level because you're lacking those psychological needs. Next on the pyramid is safety and security, having employment, having a place to call your home, having family, having social stability. You know, then it comes into love and belonging. You know, your friendships, your family, your coworkers, having a sense of connection to those individuals. So if we grew up in a house with a narcissistic parent and your first two needs may be met, but now your love and belonging creates that distance or that wall up to where you cannot connect with other individuals. You may have social anxiety is what they call it in today's society. You know, you may not know how to interact with people of the opposite sex, let alone regular people. I grew up very shy as a kid because I didn't want to talk to nobody. I was an only child and I was home alone all day. So of course that's going to kind of force you to kind of have some sort of social anxiety and self-esteem issue, which is the next thing on the pyramid. You know, lack of confidence, lack of achievement, having little or no respect for others, which we also see rampant running in our community, especially if people are openly harming one another, that or your brother who looks just like you. And at the top of the pyramid is something called self-actualization, having, morality, acceptance, approval, creativity, being your high vibrational self, kind of like your chakra, because in reality, the chakra system and the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the frequency of emotions all are the same exact color scheme, root chakra all the way up to your crown chakra. So, just thinking about all of these things and how these schools of thought obviously are taken from ancient civilizations and, things that they believe are their, bond. But in reality, we really have to get to a space as a people to kind of overcome that fear, because to me, that's all that it is. It's a level of fear. It's these deep rooted layers of trauma that have yet to be healed. Now it's causing fear because we don't know how to perform with others or in this world today.
Hold on, let me say something. Let me give a shout out to the brothers and sisters that's on the feed. Lee Clinton, what's up, brother? Man, glad you came over here, man. See that hustle, what's up, brother? Got the General Shaka Sankofa in the house. Also, we have El Muhammad, man. Appreciate it. Like, comment, and subscribe to the page as well. What I want to say between what Queen said and Abachi said covered a lot. But I think trauma for us started ever since we've been brought over here and chains and boats. You know what I mean? Because a lot of that is still in our DNA. And over the years, hundreds and hundreds of years, people be saying 400 years. It got to be more than 400 years now. I'm going to be 54 in a couple of more months. And I've been here 400 years since I was a kid. You know what I mean? So, but all the abuse that we took as a people, period, living here in the United States of America.
I definitely agree with that. And I don't feel like that's something that you can remove from your DNA. I feel like it's something that you can correct, through proper education, proper upbringing, love, more importantly. You can remove toxic habits and lifestyles and things like that from your offspring. You can, quote unquote, break the generational curse. So that's truly how you can mend those traumatic experiences. Of course, they're going to still be there. It's just like we say how things skip a generation, or if you were a twin, it'll skip a generation and you'll more than likely have some. It's the same exact concept to me. It's still going to come up, but it's all about how you handle it.
Right.
What was the term that you used, Queen, when you was talking about the developmental years of children? How did you word that?
Self-actualization,
You said something else when
childhood
you was talking
abandonment
about
issues.
you didn't say formative years, you said something. And you was talking about like the development years of small children. Like those imprint. Did you say imprint
Oh,
or something?
imprinting years. Yes, imprinting years.
Imprint.
Oh,
Okay,
from four to,
imprint.
yeah, they say like
I want to
imprinting
speak to.
years are from 4 to 10, but critically 4 to 7, because of the
So
like
so just think
psychological
about it.
development of your
And
brain.
okay, so I want to speak to that, and I want to speak to a lot of parents that minimize what I'm about to say. How many parents curse their children? I'm talking about talk to them like they grown people on the street. We have no clue how that damages children. Two, okay, one thing what it does, in my opinion, it sets them up to accept like being bullied, because you have to deal with somebody talking to you any kind of way, which also sets you up to deal with the jobs and the plantations of your boss talking to you a certain kind of way. You grow up with this normalized behavior because, again, this social learning theory, that's how my parents did me. The normalizer of trauma. Well, that's how it was with me. Well, that's how it is. That's how it always been. We don't really understand because we use a rationale. And I always say rationality is like one of the biggest parts of manipulation and trying to shift the person's view. But just think about how people curse at their children. And I remember I was talking to this this young brother that I know in my hood, and he was giving it to his children one day, and they were small. They was in between those years that you was talking about. They was like 5 and 6, and I'm talking about he's talking to him like it's a dude that owe him money, and you never correct a man while he's dealing with his children. I'm always gonna give that respect. But when he got through, I said, "Come here, man. Let me talk to you." He said, "What's up?" I said, "Man, why you talk to them children like that?" He said, "Man, they just be pissing me off, man." I said, well, look, you think about it like this. I said, "You're on your way to work, right?" I said, "You're on your way to work, right?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "When you're late, you come in, your boss like, motherfucker, where you been? Don't you?"
Breaking
He said,
up.
"I'm gonna do something to him and probably quit." I said, "So why would you talk?" Huh?
I said you was breaking up. You good now?
You said something, bro?
Yeah, I said you was breaking
I
up.
said, "So why would if you feel that level of I said, if you feel that level of disrespect from your boss, why would you talk to your child like that?" And he said, "I never thought about it like that." Because we don't look at them as little people. We don't look at them as young people that you are shaping and developing. So we traumatize them with our yelling. We traumatize them with our stuff. And one thing that I'm firmly against is that's why I brought up relationships. And I said, how will you talk to be in a relationship? Now, as for me, I'm gonna speak to the dudes that was around me. I the dudes that was around me, I learned how not to trust, because we're learning through somebody else's trauma and experience of what they've dealt with. They're not giving you health. They're not giving you healthy advice, in my opinion. They're
Mm-hmm.
giving you their trauma of how not to trust women.
Yeah, that's what I'm
They're
saying.
Right.
giving
Cause
you
they,
your way.
yeah, that's what I'm about to say. They probably know how I don't mean to cut you out, but you know, father, grandfather, uncles, all the elders, they all cheated on, you know what I'm saying, they significant others or what. So growing up,
Right.
I thought that shit was normal.
Mm-hmm.
All of them.
See,
Fathers
Absolutely.
to granddaddy to
see,
multiple uncles and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give
yeah.
a shout out to
Mm-hmm.
Leader
And
O.
and,
She
and
on the page. Subscribe to she
yo,
channel on YouTube. It's called Leader O.
dope
She
sister,
give a
dope
lot of good
powerful
information.
sister.
And sisters, check her page out, Leader O.
Got you.
So, so speaking to that point that you just dropped, bro, and said, you know, granddaddy cheating, granddaddy got a whole family on the side. Think about how that showed girls how
Mm-hmm.
to put up with certain stuff. Because granddaddy was out there working, he was providing. So that
Yeah.
taught them that that's how it is. And then what came out of that? That's just how men are.
Yep. That's the way what I grew up seeing.
The,
With all the elders in my
yeah,
family, all of them. So what so by
yeah.
seeing that as a kid, raised as a kid, seeing this, what when I got teenage, early 20s, whatever, what you think? I'm thinking that it was normal. I
Mm-hmm.
ain't stopped cheating till I was like 37 years old.
Mm-hmm.
For real.
I mean, it's funny
At
because
what?
today we were talking about
No, go ahead, Quinn.
having a we were talking about today having a starting five on Facebook under one of my old homies post from high school. And it's funny because back in the day I had a blog called Naughty's Brain, And I wrote about having a starting five in every position that the woman played on the team. And, again, something that we normalize, and I often speak about how I don't know very many faithful men, it's unfortunately what I believe is a learned behavior, which is what I said earlier. And to your point, that both of you gentlemen are saying right now, that these are things that we witnessed as kids. Or if someone transitioned in the family, the grandfather or the pops, uncle, whomever he may be, he's gonna get with their friend almost immediately after. I've seen that a couple times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want to say something
So
about the
just think
child
about it.
thing too. I want to say something about the, cursing at your child. Because when I was a child, I was extremely sensitive. I had undergone a lot of trauma before I was 5. And I can reflect on it and realize like how it kind of shook me up to be an adult today. But at the same time, when I went through those circumstances, I also immediately had a bunch of adults around me out almost as a hedge of protection, because they felt like they needed to put other people around. I could not be by myself in those types of situations because of the trauma. But with those people now around me, they had their own toxic habits, and that came with a lot of profanity and cursing. And again, I grew
So,
up as a Jehovah's Witness, so we didn't have that shit in our house. You know what I mean? Like, people was not yelling at me. So when now that you're yelling at me and cursing at me, I'm sensitive. I'm waterworks. I'm immediately crying, because I'm like, people don't talk to me that way. And this is why I say that still to this very day. I don't have the best relationship with my mother today. And last year in January sometime, she called me a motherfucker like 3 times. And I was like, yo, shorty, like, this the last time you got that. Because now I'm gonna have to talk to you like you somebody on the street, because people don't talk to me that way. And you're not exempt. Do you understand? So now people have to also realize that when you age, your parents' relationship should also develop and grow as well, because they cannot consider you as a child any longer. You have to also grow with your children, and your lens of them has to also grow as well. So because my mom's lens never adjusted, she's still treating me like I'm a child, which also displays that profanity as well, because that's how she treated me. But she was also one of those parents who will also kind of conditionally love you, or be like that narcissistic
Mm-hmm.
personality that will buy you gifts, will take you to restaurants or vacations and so on and so forth, as like a band-aid. And that is the reason why our relationship is the way that it is still, because she's never outgrown that. And me, I'm just like, if this is how you want it to be, cool, just know you're going to get treated accordingly, because you can't talk to me that way.
hey, can I say something? And I just thought about it.
Absolutely.
Didn't just think about it. I grew up like, I grew up uncles, aunties, grandfather, father, alcohol, smoking weed, cussing, playing cards. And that's the way I grew up, literally.
Hmm. Hmm.
So is that traumatic for a kid?
I don't think it's traumatic, because I grew up in a household where every Saturday was a party. My grandfather was an old school DJ. My grandmother fed the whole hood. People was in our house all day, Saturday and Sunday, parties till four
Right.
o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? We grew up with cards and Bud Light and Budweisers, and, smoking and drinking, hella cigarettes, weed, whatever you
Yeah.
think
The
was
whole
in our
9 yards.
house. This was in my house. You understand? Like, this is, I can't say that it was completely toxic or traumatic. I would say it could be if it was a daily thing.
Mm-hmm. I think also it's
But let
what's
me ask
all
you,
going
let,
on within
let
it.
me ask you that before you say it. So I grew up the same way, Queen. So is that this dysfunctional saying that I'm growing up as a kid?
I didn't see it as dysfunctional. I saw it as my community coming together and having a good time because they weren't allowed to do it anywhere else.
All right.
Maybe the activity that could have happened. I mean, I've witnessed a lot of fist fights
Mm-hmm.
and major
Right.
altercations, and things like that. Of course, that is definitely traumatic, but
Hey,
that
we
also
came up
comes
the
with
same way.
alcohol and spirit.
We
And that's
came up the
probably why
same
me and
way.
you be agreeing on a lot of shit. You know what I mean? So I can't say that I thought it was traumatic. I felt like it was healthy for us to be around, you know, people coming together in times when we know we couldn't be safe outside.
Right.
I think that's what I was gonna kind of like speak to when I say it all depends on what happened within those celebrations. I think the trauma what would turn it trauma if there was a lot of neglect, which led to like sexual abuse. And like Queen said, like which led to like fist fights, shootouts, that type of stuff. But as far as like from just like coming together, I really don't see that because my family was always kind of like a neighborhood family. Even up until my mom passed away, we always was kind of like the neighborhood family where everybody came. So it didn't matter if you was a drug addict. It didn't matter who you are. You could always come to our house. You could get some conversation. You can get you some food. You can get you a car again. So and I think those are the components of that revolutionary in me because I always we always had a packed house. We always knew, even though we was dysfunctional, and even though my family was distant, we was close, if that makes sense, in a sense. So I'm gonna say probably what made that trauma, if there was any kind of like neglect which led to abuse. But oh man, that was just like the community coming together, people just coming to, that's how we get together to celebrate.
Right.
But let me ask you this, bro. You said you didn't start like cheating until like 30.
I stopped
At
at
what
like at
point
like
He
did you
didn't
start to
37.
stop
real?
cheating.
I stopped at 37, at the age of 30.
Oh, you stopped. Okay. Well, look. Let me ask you this.
But I cheated on
What
everybody.
was that turning point?
I cheated on everybody who I was with up until 37.
Hey,
Like
first of
whatever it
all,
was,
first of
whoever
all, you
was with me, they
you don't
got
lie,
cheated
man.
on, homeboy. You can believe that one.
You don't lie, man. Don't be telling your
Oh man,
business.
it's the
Look, they
truth,
they
though.
over with that.
It's the truth.
They can't do that, bro.
It's the truth.
So, at what point did you realize you had to stop doing that? Like, what was the like turn of event when you realized you had to grow from that?
I just seen the effects of the kids, the effects of the wife. You know what I mean? Then I just finally just grew up. And
Right.
it wasn't
Right.
no specific time. I just had to grow up, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
That was one thing I learned was growing up. Being respectable, being honorable, having good character. Not just that, having a love for your people, despite the traumas that they've been through. Having a love for your people, despite the dysfunctional environments we have been in. The main thing to that is like really, really, giving yourself time to grow as a person. You know what I'm saying? And being able to stand on your own as a person and believe your truths. Even when things are going on in your family that's bad, even if things going on in your family that's horrific. The main thing that I can say as far as both sides of my family is I've always been the one have good character. Always be the one, who do things that's right, You know, I'm not gonna say starting off I did not do things right. We're gonna get that straight now. But what helped me was reading. Like my name is knowledge. You know, Reading helped me. It took me to a whole nother world, to learning and understanding and overstanding everything and everyone as as we are today. And it really helped me to really build a relationship with myself. The thing about us as black men, I'm speaking to black men, you don't have a relationship with yourself. And then on top of that, you dealing with the trauma. We dealing with things. We dealing with oppression. We dealing with. I'm gonna tell you when I was coming up, and I really started trying to take care of my family because I got my girlfriend pregnant, my wife pregnant, and I was trying to be honest, work a job. I wasn't trying to do nothing on the streets, and I was always called, the European saw me as this big Negro working. So it was always like they be trying to pick on him, stuff like that. That's some of my trauma that I had, and by me not wanting to be in trouble, and I knew I can beat the stew out of them. That I just wanted to prove to my wife and to myself, look, I can take care of this and do what's right. The main thing for me, well, I got to a certain level in my life where I want to just do everything right. And as I started to do things right, more it started happening. So that's what grew me up. And then us as a people, we don't have no form of rites of passage. So our
Know
rites
what?
of passage
Know what our rights?
is
Know what our rights of passage is?
what is it?
For these kids, being in the
What is it?
street, being in the street.
I was just going to say
That's the
that
rights of
our
passage
rites of
for us.
passage was the card parties, the barbecues, the dances, auntie dancing, Unc sit around all year round. That one song come on during the barbecue. He didn't took the Stacey Adams shoes off. He ready to get down. So so I so that was kind of our rites of passage. It was kind of disruptive. It was kind of encryptive, and you really couldn't pull a lot out of it. But I knew this in my family as far as dealing with the youth and people having trauma. I had a group of men in my family you didn't play with. I had another group of men in the family, they took care of everything. Then you got another group, they did everything. So as I grew, I did not want to be like those who kept making bad decisions and keep doing the same thing. Because once I learned about insanity, was doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. It's crazy. It's ludicrous. So I didn't want. I stopped. I didn't want to keep going to jail. I didn't want to do nothing they did on the streets. I want to make a difference, make a change, and then at the same time, by me reading Law 25 in I forgot the book. It's on the tip of my tongue. Law 25.
48.
48 Laws of Power. And that right there was recreate myself. And each of us, man and woman, has to recreate ourselves. Queen is not the same Queen when she was in grade school or high school. You know what I'm saying? And you can tell from her speech. One thing about a person who's been through trauma and who has elevated themselves to a very high level, your speech has changed. If you go to school with someone and they say, "Man, you still the same like we went to school," that's a bad sign. That's
Yep.
a bad sign. That means
Yep.
one, you ain't healed. That's right, you ain't healed. Then two, whatever you have going on, you haven't dealt with it as a person or individual. So we have to have these conversations.
Absolutely.
And we have to have sometimes we have to talk about our cultural and spiritual dysfunctions that we have. And then we have to make healthy life choices, not just what you eat, but what you see, the way you sleep, the way things happen in life. Me and Boston, we chop it up all the time. And a lot of things we mention, and which I want to start doing is probably recording our conversations, because some of our great conversations is when we on the phone with each other, and we just really be uncut and raw with it. Not saying we be saying things that are crazy, but we really be having a beautiful dialogue because our energy is so good, and our energy connects. And there's nothing funny about that, or anything like that. We are men. If I tell my brother Obasa I love him, I love him. It's not like nothing like that,
No
because
chichi man.
the one no teaching man, no.
No, let's
But
just
the
start
one
that, Queen. I'm just...
the one thing is this. The one thing is this: the black man is scared to love because of trauma. The black
Mm-hmm.
man is scared to
Fact.
evolve
Fact.
because of trauma. I sat here, I listened to all you guys, get it in. You know what I'm saying? Even Ken Water not the same Ken Water. Even now, he's
He definitely
elevating,
not.
going high. Yeah, he's not the same one. It's some
Definitely
things when
not.
I first met him, some people do, it's gonna be a problem. Right now, he be like, come on now, let's leave. That's called growth, even for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We have overlooked so much in the community as far as the
Mm-hmm.
people, but I learned something. I must be doing something right. If you mad, I'm doing something right. That means you either gonna get over it or you gonna see your own flaws and fix yourself, and then maybe you can go to Law 25 and recreate yourself.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I also, as the black men, we gotta protect the sisters. One thing I learned as far as reading ancient science, we protected the women. And then in some cases, we protected the woman so much, she loved us so much that she would go to war with us. That's a bond.
What you tell
That's a bond. In
God.
ancient, if it was a war, the queen or whoever would go to war. I'm gonna give you a good example. Think about 300. When she found out that your man's was dead, man, the next one came out three. Man, she was ruthless. That was the love she had for her king. And that's how we
Absolutely.
that's how we need to be. We need to put that energy out there so our queens can love us unconditionally and trust us unconditionally. You know what I'm
I want to
saying?
piggyback off of that, thinking about the game of chess. Everybody knows that there is a king and a queen on the board.
That's
And the
right.
luxury of being a queen is that she can become any position. You know what I mean? And we have to operate in that love space, like you said, because it's not only men afraid to love, women are afraid to love today too. And, just in my private conversations with, friends and stuff, a lot of women married because that's what their parents told them to do, or because they, were with child and they felt like having a child out of wedlock was the wrong thing, so on and so forth. And now they're, young 30s, mid 30s, divorcees, not realizing or knowing how to act and realizing that dating today is genuinely a shit show, because there are also men coming out of these same types of experiences and thinking like, yo, I want to see if I could really, if I still got it, and now they out here frolicking and wowing. Um, and it's just an unfortunate, just an unfortunate time to kind of be single in, because so many people are lacking healing. And one thing that I did get from, this weekend's topic was that every single person there kept emphasizing the importance of healing, So I just want to give some basic quick tips before anything that helped me heal the best was first by journaling and writing down the things that actually caused me to feel some type of fear or disconnect from people in general, whether if it was romantic, my teachers in school, like I wrote down what I feel I was missing or what I feel was hindering me from leveling up. And just to be transparent, one of the things that I wrote from my journal, it says dated October 2018, it says fear of giving up control, not being able to provide for myself, not receiving enough love, rejection, losing control, loneliness, never having children or getting married, and losing my self worth and independence. So when I thought about all of those things, I'm like, damn, why did I feel like I have to be in control so much? Why did I write control twice? Like what caused me to feel like I was either spiraling out of control or not feeling like I was willing to give up control. And when I sat down and thought about it, it was because I was that child that was home alone by myself all the time. So I had full control. Do you understand? Like I had control of coming and going as I pleased. They gave me money on the counter every single day and I did whatever I wanted. I ate whatever I wanted. I did whatever I wanted. So it wasn't until I realized who I was internally after journaling and realizing that journaling does help. It allowed me to see the things that I did want. It allowed me to create a routine. It allowed me to realize the things that intimidated me and some other things that gave me mental clarity, you know. And the importance, again, like I said, when you journal, um, you're almost like blind journaling. You know, you're either just going, you know, and it's just coming out and you're just writing it down. Sometimes, you know, when I felt like, you know, as a child growing up in religion, I felt like I couldn't pray to God because he hadn't revealed himself to me at that point. So I could only journal, you know, and at that point when I was only journaling, I realized that that was my form of prayer. And I was completely okay with that. And then that's when I picked up something called the frequency of emotions. I really, really want everybody to kind of write down this or just look it up on the internet, what the frequency of emotions really looks like. Because the frequency of emotion starts with shame at the bottom and it goes all the way up to enlightenment. And just thinking about the chakra system at the root chakra and going up to the crown. So, what I did as an assignment for journaling was as soon as I picked up the frequency of emotions on the internet, I wrote down the first emotion that I felt shame. What was the first instance that I felt shame? The next one was guilt. What was the first thing that occurred to me that I felt guilt? And so on and so forth, all the way up to enlightenment. And what I realized is that the higher I went up to where I was approaching that crown chakra, the more difficult it became for me to express the positivity in my life. So all that did was allow
Mm.
me to realize that I was harping too much on the negative and I
Right.
wasn't living in my highest vibration. So
Right.
now that allowed me to change my mindset. It allowed me to change how I was operating on this plane. Because why am I allowing trauma to hold me down? And yet I'm awarded with the opportunity to live every day and bless somebody with what I have inside of me.
Right.
So if I felt like I was healed, now I need to act like I'm healed. And I think that's the part that people are forgetting. Your trauma does not define you. It is just a part of the process and your lesson that you came to this earth to learn. And now how do we operate in a sense of mindfulness and being present with where we are and who we are today?
So
Right.
let me,
That sound like Law 25. Recreate yourself.
yeah, I go with the two freaky shit of emotion. Yeah, I'm going. So that's what I'm saying. So you see how these kids are growing up today in you know, every street USA, every ghetto USA, they growing up in violence. So do you think they traumatized? Because I can tell you right now, I had came to realize a few years back that I've been traumatized, man. That's part of the reason why I'm in therapy right now.
Shout out to therapy. Shout out to therapy.
Man, when they start diagnosing you with some things and they give you that scale of where you sit on that traumatic, it's really a wake-up call. You know, I started therapy in 2019. And prior to that, I think I was engaged to be married, I think, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years ago, something like that. And in those sessions, I had to do like premarital counseling. They encourage you to do individual counseling. You don't realize how deep your trauma lies
Yeah,
until you're about to marry somebody. Because you have to now deal with your own shit, and now they got their own shit, and now we got too much shit. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, it is just too much because if that person isn't even coherent about how they operate on this earth through their trauma, and then now you're trying to bring somebody into that.
yeah.
I must say, I must say, you don't realize how jacked up you are until you're in there. And I started right after my mom passed away, and that was the only coping. That was the only coping mechanism. And a lot of times people don't understand because I had I was fortunate. I was fortunate to have a great mother who loved and poured into me and was my best friend. So I was extremely fortunate. And what I started to realize, like you said, Queen, with you, it was journaling. When I started to realize about my effed up traits is when I would say things out loud in therapy. And when you hear yourself talking sometime, and when you're talking to somebody with an unbiased opinion that's just listening, sometimes people just don't know how to listen. They always want to kind of like insert some information, insert what they feel when it's not about them. And therapy gives you the reward of if it was a good therapist like I have, just listening. And she would always say, why do you feel like you have to give yourself permission to feel? Because that's what I was conditioned, that, I always got to be tough. I can't feel anything. I can't do this. So I be myself. And like Knowledge said something strong, and I wanted to back it up. He said, Black men are afraid to love. Black men, and that's what I try to get popping, that, we have to have real serious conversations. We can talk about trauma. We can talk about how women ain't this. We can talk about how this. We spend so much time complaining. But I think, like, even when my bro was saying, I tell old boys I love him, we even got to stop doing that. We can sit in our security and say, hey, love you, bro. Hey, man, that's why I love you, dog. And don't have to get that no homo, because we know what we saying. We know we ain't talking about no Greek stuff when we saying you love your brother.
We was taught growing up that not to cry. Crying is for women and children. I know that's the way I was taught.
I have something to say about that.
What part?
The crying part.
Man.
Go ahead, go, but I'm gonna see when you finish.
No, go ahead.
Ain't nobody gonna be like Tyrese crying on camera and all that, but yeah, man,
No, man. What more do you want from me?
You gotta get it out, you know what I'm saying? Be by yourself, shed your tears, man. But we was taught wrong. Yeah. That's the point I'm saying. We was taught wrong. We was taught to hell everything in.
Because what they did was they gave emotion a gender. So if we felt vulnerability, or if you knew, if you wanted to talk or express yourself, those things were called feminine traits. If you want to cry, stop crying like a little girl.
Right, that's what I mean.
They associated crying with females. So you didn't want to be that. You didn't want to be as queen. So you didn't want to be no chi-chi, man. So you you suck it up. But at the same time, you never learn how to get them tears out. You never learn how to express. That's what we did.
Your emotions,
man. You feel so strong.
I said that's holding in your.
You said something strong about the new generation. You said, are they traumatized? Absolutely. Because where are they learning to love? If you think we was effed up,
I know they traumatized because I
was just about something about
crying.
Oh, go ahead. Y'all already said it.
Yeah.
We talked about that on a previous live on Instagram about the actual characteristics and traits of feminine and masculine and what society feels, we are supposed to be like. And I can't tell you how many times that has spoiled or hindered me from progressing forward with men in relationships present day because of that exactly lack of emotion or being able to express their feelings, or them expressing their feelings and then a woman using it against them later. That's also trauma.
That right there.
But for real, women do it.
Yeah, I know they do.
Oh, that happens a lot.
100 times.
That happens to me a lot.
I'm gonna tell you something. The young ones out here now, it's hard for a brother to pillow talk with his woman because she always uses it against him. I haven't found out one case where the woman, but I have found this out though. If the woman doesn't use it against him, that means she really loves him. And once he senses that, since no one learned how to love or deal with they problems, then he started to mistreat her because he feel like I got her. But once you find somebody like that, that's when you build. That's when you start to manifest. You know what I'm saying? I
100%.
believe like for as me and where I am in life, I'm in a good place. Is it way better than where I come from? Yes, it is, very much so. And it was just so crazy that the creator put me with someone who allowed me to grow. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
Gave me opportunity to deal with all my shenanigans. And that one thing I'm gonna say about the young guys too. If you get a sister and she's committed to you and she loves you, when you get the bag, don't run out to the Instagram stripper with the bag.
Ooh, hoo, hoo.
Man, give it to your
Or the
queen.
Becky with the good
No,
hair.
hey man,
Man,
but
a lot of young brother. I know a young brother now. He came up on like about 50 bands. He was like, I don't need you no more. Just broke the woman down, broke her down. And it's a bad situation. But
hey,
to the
but
brothers out there, when you get the bag, don't do that. That's not cool.
these younger brothers, man, they really, really function out of emotions, man. They function big out of emotions, man.
Yeah.
Emotions, man.
Yeah.
And they did a study on the gun violence in our community. And a lot of the violence comes from emotion, men being
Emotions. That's what I
unstable,
mean.
being emotion, have so much bottled up, and boom, everything explodes. You look up, now you're going down the prison pipeline because you did something
Right.
stupid,
And then
because you didn't think, you didn't move, you moved off emotions
yeah.
instead of moving with some form of integrity. You can't be out here doing silly stuff, and we just got to realize to the point we haven't healed as a people. It's amazing me when
No, we not.
European kids get in trouble in school, they send them home to allow them to heal or give them therapy. They even
Yep.
let them go in and talk to the counselors or talk to the school nurse, some form of
Hmm.
therapy. We haven't had no therapy. We steady dealing with trauma on every level,
Every level.
and then then everything come from us. And I'm not just saying it because that's my skin color. I'm saying it because it's true. I can prove it.
Facts.
And we never had the opportunity to
That's what
really
it is.
heal.
Opportunity.
You know what I'm
And
saying? We
that's
never had
why
that
we need 10
opportunity.
years. And that's why we need 10 years. That's exactly why I feel that. Because honestly, it's at a point now where if we don't start doing something about it right now,
We done.
uh, it has to be
We
done
done.
because it breaks my heart every time I'm in a store or on the phone with someone or, just hearing the way these people talk to their children and they will scream at them loud as hell like they in their house. You know what I mean? It's just so unsettling. And it makes me want to just buy a whole compound and never let my kid leave. Just grow up here. I don't want y'all frolicking around with these folks. You know what I mean? It's just
But
really
see,
disheartening.
but see, that's why it's so important for us as men, and not excluding women, Queen. But that's why it's so important for us as men to really get ourselves together and learn how to love, healthy love, not this. Because boys need to see men loving properly too. We need hugs.
Hmm.
Young boys need hugs. They need to be taught. Like Nala said, no rites of passage. We need to be taught proper about sex. I was a father. Look, I was a father at 15. And that is the worst type of anxiety. I don't want to say trauma, but that is the worst type of thing you can do because you are a boy yourself. I'm a boy myself in this position. You can't teach the things of fatherhood because you're
Mm,
not prepared mentally. My mind was still developing. So it's just like I want to say, don't feel like that you too cool for therapy, and don't block nobody else healing. Please
yeah.
don't block nobody else healing. We have to learn to let people heal at their own pace.
Yeah.
And get it up out of you. Get it up out of you. That was my deciding thing because I was, and I began to talk about my depression. I'm not a too cool for school brother. My TikTok, I talk about depression. I talk about all of this because I lost all my family. I lost every single family that I grew up in my original family. So you can imagine my level of abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine my level of feeling unloved and alone. But I didn't bury my emotions. And I feel like that's something we do as black men. We be like, oh, I'm all right. No, you're not. Because Ken said, they function out of emotion. They can't even handle a girl breaking up with them. And they want to
Man,
unalive them. That's not the way, young.
that's
That's a
another
whole
topic.
conversation.
Another
Hey, man,
That
but
just
topic.
gave me
what
anxiety.
I can say, this is what I gotta say to y'all young brothers out there. Just because you loving on a black woman, don't make you no simp. See how we just reversed everything? Don't believe the hype. That's what PE said. Straight
Don't
up.
believe the hype.
Cut
All
that
right,
out.
Queen, give your
Don't
Cut
final
it
believe
out.
thoughts,
the hype.
Queen.
I just want to say again, it's always an honor and privilege to be on the line, to be able to heal our brothers and sisters here in the community. Again, please do not be afraid to tap in if you need someone to talk to. Go seek therapy. There are lots of therapy services available. They are even affordable or free at that. Many of our companies that we work for offer free mental health services for at least 3 sessions. They can provide you with resources to assist. If you're not using your insurance, use it because you're paying for it. So
Right.
do not be afraid. We are all open to, of course, building with you and being a helpful ear, but no one can heal you better than a professional who is deemed to do so. So please do so.
That's that. I most definitely use my insurance.
Hey,
I like it
Yes,
too. And I like it too. For real.
yes. And make sure you
wipe it
go to
like a
therapy and get
shark.
somebody who looks like you. I can't
Oh yeah,
emphasize that
my
enough.
therapist is an
Get somebody
African.
who look like you.
It's a my therapist is from Ghana. He cool people.
Yes,
Cool people.
yes.
All
He
right,
got
all
that.
right, all right, people. Another episode, Vocal Dialect. Queen got his hoe. King Water I kill, Bossy Kente, and I'm Knowledge Born 7. We thank you and we love
Peace.
you.
Hold on,
Peace.
don't cut it off. Don't cut it off. Hey, this weekend, February 24th,
Come
we
on,
have
Russell
3
Simmons.
events. Grandmaster Slaughter Birthrights. Be there at 12.
Oh, yeah, we got to be there. I'm sorry.
Come on through, you know what I mean? The brother Kalanji and Baba Baruti are going to do a lecture out in Union City, I think about 2, 3 o'clock. And also, that same day, we have a 4th annual RBG Festival.
Nice. That's a
Peace,
vibe.
God. Peace,
Right.
family. Peace.
Peace. Man,
Yeah, we had people on the feed, man.
that was Skittles. It was a good one.
Yeah, we could edit it up, put the thumbnail on it, and put a description in there.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
that's that. The page growing though. The page growing.
Yeah, it's you know what? I got another alert today saying that they might do another shutdown again soon. So, um, we got to keep the consistency going because if
Yeah, got
they
to.
lock people down again, you know
Yeah,
what type
people
of
gonna look
time
at.
that
Yeah,
is. You know
people
what I
gonna
mean?
build. Yeah, you right. They do another one. I hope they do another shoe.
Me too.
I
Shit,
ain't gonna
I'm
lie.
ready.
Hey,
Look, I'm
All right,
ready.
hey, y'all, pause, y'all. Y'all pause. I think we still live. Pause.
oh man, come on, man.
Hold on. Chill out, man.
Still live, man. Let me see.
If
Are we
we,
still live?
it looked like it says live on the corner of
Yeah,
this
we still live.
Zoom feed. Yo, if they doing that again, I'm going back down to the country. I ain't even gonna hold you. So
I heard that.
ain't no way I'm gonna be up in dark ass Baltimore, Missouri.